It's weird to meet the podcasters that, like, yeah.
Never meet your heroes.
Well, hopefully there's nothing terrible there, but...
All right, I think it sounds like we're ready to party.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Where's my like, clackers? Clack, 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 clack. Is that what they use at parties these days? Clackers?
Yeah, the kids
hands
use the
things?
parties.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The kids are flossing.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
kids are flossing. And their low pants and their rap music.
I'm just dabbing all over the studio right now on my skateboard.
Kids jack up their pants now. That's the new trend.
I did not know that.
This is, I think, the biggest table that I've had so far.
Yeah, 5
Yeah, we
feet.
could play a game like this.
Now, let me try to do this alphabetically. We got Amber,
Yes, hi.
Brandon,
Hi.
Gary,
Hello.
and Josh.
Hello.
You did it.
And I'm Kristin. How are we feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm speaking for everybody. We're all feeling good.
Yes.
He's on top of it. So, Sarah couldn't make it after all. So she and I were in here yesterday. We did a supplemental.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Cool.
I've kind of already did a mummy episode, which I'm fine.
Yeah, you do like after credits.
Love it. Yep.
That's right.
Just splice her in every now and then.
Yeah, just pretend like she's been here the whole time.
Just like
Right.
take a laugh clip and just put her laugh in the group.
Did anybody see this in theaters? I'm pretty sure you
Yes.
did.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
back
You
in-
did.
100%.
I did not.
I think
actually.
I did.
100%. My dad took us to go see it.
Yeah, my mom.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in theaters. I think we just had the tape.
I think for me, it was the movie that we saw in band a lot.
In band?
Yeah, there's a lot of times where maybe it was like, because my band was the last class of the day, so there was always this gap between band and like practice. So we would always
see.
just put on movies.
Wow.
It was The Mummy a lot. It was The Mummy and Remember the Titans a lot.
That woman is like basically naked for a while. Is that cool in school, I guess?
Which one? In The Mummy?
The woman that's gold at the beginning?
As long as there's no nipples.
Sana.
There was.
Yeah, that's
she
all
just
that
had
matters,
the
I
body
guess.
paint. You know, there was the stitch of clothing on her, just all painted.
I'm pretty sure the teacher just looked at the rating. That wasn't good
PG-13.
enough.
Yep.
I always forget you're like older than me, Brandon.
Just by 3 years. But I
yeah,
guess
but that's enough to like put you into high school.
Yeah,
And I'm
I guess
still
so.
in middle
Wow.
school.
My mom really loved this movie. We would watch it all the time.
Really?
Because she wanted to
Did
keep
you
on
like
watching.
it?
I liked it through the exposure of it over
It was
and over and over
fine.
again. Yeah,
You've been Stockholmed
exactly.
into it. Great.
Yeah.
Was your mom a big Brendan Fraser fan?
I think so.
Yeah.
Just this and Tarzan over and over again?
We watched a lot of Tarzan.
Wait, he was George of the Jungle.
George of the
wasn't he?
Jungle.
That's right.
Oh, wait, that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh.
Not Tarzan.
Yeah.
He was,
I-
yeah.
Yes.
So we've all probably seen it pretty recent. I know that I watched it like 2 months ago when we were
Yeah.
supposed to record
Yep.
this.
Yeah,
2
same.
months ago, but I
2
also
months.
watched it a lot too when I was a kid. It was one of those VHS tapes that or was it DVD? I think we had it on DVD.
I think it was VHS for me.
We had it on DVD.
Yeah, it was necessary for me to see it again this week because I only saw the movie once when it came out in '99. So, of course, I had to see it again because
Right.
I knew we were doing this recording. So I had to refresh myself.
Yeah.
Oh, so you saw it within this week.
I did see
Oh,
it
nice.
this week.
Yeah, I watched it the other day with one of the commentary tracks, and you said you'd watched several of them.
Yeah, I have nothing but time. So, yes. I
Okay,
did.
great.
Yeah, the Blu-ray has like 3 commentary
Yeah.
tracks, and I
Wow.
listened to
I
all of them.
was tempted.
Wow.
I only got around to one, unfortunately, but it was the one with 3 people on it. So
Yep.
that was fun. What did you like about it as a kid, Amber? Why did you watch it so much?
Well, I think it's just all the mythology stuff and
Yeah.
like ancient Egyptian.
Were you into that?
I just was into mythology stuff in general. So I'm just remembering like the cool book and the cool key thing,
Yeah.
and then of course like this weird like mummy guy who could like control sand, I guess. Also, there are a lot of biblical reference
Yeah.
stuff. So I was a Bible kid, so
Gotcha. See, that was one of the questions I had written down was what's with all the Bible stuff? And you're kind of our Bible correspondent.
yeah. So it's like all the plague stuff.
Yeah, it was-
So like him coming was like the plagues are also coming. I don't know what his actual religious ties to that was, other than the tenuous thing of we're in Egypt. And that's when the plagues happened.
Yeah.
So let's just tie that together.
Right. Like,
Oh, well, that's
I
where
mean,
Moses
fair.
busted out the
Yeah.
plagues.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
100% Old Testament.
Yeah. But like as far as like the mummy himself, like what his tie to
Right, that's-
the
yeah.
religious significance of the plagues, there was no.
I kind of wondered.
Yeah, and they also had their own religion and I can't remember the specifics about their backstory, but like whatever they believed in was like really happening. Their whole afterlife, their
the pharaohs and actual Egyptians, yeah.
So you had like these multiple god stories going on.
Yeah,
Right.
the nobles and actual Egyptians, and you have like Christianity kind of happening with the Israelites and all that.
And both were legit in this movie.
Because it did come up a couple times with the different symbols, right? Like,
Bernie.
Well, yeah.
Or that was
Benny?
Benny. I'm sorry, Benny.
My favorite character.
He's the greatest.
Oh God!
But he kept kind of busting out all of those religious symbols to just try to ward away the.
And it was it the Star of David?
It was Star of David. Yeah. It's
Gotcha.
like
Because he was speaking the language of the slaves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you can serve me.
Yeah.
Whew,
Nailed
that-
it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Safe.
So there was a lot of that stuff
My prince.
that was like really interesting to me as a kid. I mean, also CGI stuff was like becoming more and more realistic-y, kind of
then,
like
yeah.
for then. I mean,
That was probably wild impressive at the time.
yes, it was.
Yeah, that was.
A lot of it, like even his jaw and like some of the other weird stuff. Brandon loves it.
Sure. I don't know. I think it looked pretty crazy back then too.
The water is horrible. That was the worst, I think. I mean, like, toward the end, there's, like, I don't know if he's sinking into water or something's going
Oh,
on.
you mean
right.
like the pool of souls or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
This is actually kind of a darkish territory themed thing.
Yeah. I was surprised at how much violence and gunplay there was.
A lot of blood stained clothes.
Yeah. I was just like, wow, I watched this a lot as a kid.
Yeah, like the undead and raising the undead and like
Yeah. That explains a lot.
Let's go ahead and read the IMDb summary. At an archaeological dig in the ancient city of Hamunaptra, an American serving in the French Foreign Legion accidentally awakens a mummy. Whoops.
oops, wah wah.
Who begins to wreak havoc as he searches for the reincarnation of his long-lost love. So that's how the movie opens, is there's this bald priest.
oh yeah, he's like the Grand Vizier or something.
Oh, yeah, he's the priest.
Sure, yeah.
For the for the pharaoh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he and the pharaoh's concubine
Yep.
slay the pharaoh,
Yes.
and they thus in turn are slain.
Because they get caught, I think, is...
Smearing that paint.
I know, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Don't touch,
Just
He
look.
should have known better.
Yeah, I know.
honestly.
I mean, they're hiding in like another room, just blocked by like a sheer curtain.
They'll never find us.
Yeah, they weren't very good on planning.
Nah, who needs plans? We can resurrect people.
That's right.
The thing that surprised me about this movie, I never made the connection until like 2 years ago that this was a remake of like the original Universal Monsters series,
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
Mummy. I had no idea. Because when it came out, I thought it was just, action movie starring Brendan Fraser in Egypt. I never made that connection that they were trying to bring back all those movies.
Like the Wolfman and stuff.
Oh yeah, they still are. Even 2016, there was that horrible Tom Cruise mummy movie.
Yep.
But no,
Oh,
they've
I
been.
forgot about that.
Yeah, well, I wish I could. but no, Universal wanted to. I mean, basically, their monsters are their intellectual property
Right.
that everybody knows, and so they've been trying to build franchises. But at the time in '99, they already had Dracula, the Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
Then
With Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves, and
What?
yep, and you also had at the Mary Shelley's, Frankenstein, but you really couldn't do franchises
Oh my God,
with
I
those
forgot
two.
about that. That just came back to me. Oh, wow.
But
Was that like Robert De Niro?
yeah,
I
Robert
never
De
saw
Niro's
it.
Frankenstein,
God.
and Kenneth Branagh wrote and directed and played the Dr. Frankenstein. But the brilliant thing that Stephen Sommers did, because they wanted to turn the Mummy into a franchise, and you couldn't really do it with the old school Mummy because it's like he's a dude wrapped in bandages and walking slow, so you really had to try to get yourself killed by this mummy thing,
Right.
backing yourself into a wall or something. Where basically Stephen Sommers took a little bit of, Raiders of the Lost Ark and
Yeah.
kind of married it to the Mummy movie with the Plagues of Egypt. That was a little bit of the Abominable Dr. Phibes, and so maybe a little bit of Lawrence of Arabia with,
Yeah.
with the
Foreign
desert
Legion.
action scenes.
Yeah.
And so they kind of put it all into a stew, and then that's the brilliant thing about it is he turned the Mummy into the one franchise that you got from the Universal Monsters. You really
What have there
don't.
been like 4 of these?
Well,
least
yeah.
the
Well, if you
3.
include the Tom Cruise, which is supposed to be a
Right.
reboot, which was supposed to be their version of like the Marvel, blah blah blah, but that never actually came
Yay.
about because because the Mummy was god awful.
Yeah.
The 2016 Mummy. This Mummy was actually not up to much, but still pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
But so wait, there was plans for there is in The Mummy Returns, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the Scorpion King.
Yeah, there's
Well,
three.
the
Mummy
Scorpion King.
movies.
That's right. Yeah, that's
There's
4,
three.
including if you
Four.
include the Scorpion
Yeah.
King.
That was part of
and
the French.
That
Yes,
one, yeah,
that's
actually,
supposed
no,
to
they wanted to do a whole series of Scorpion, which they did too. Actually,
Oh my God.
they did two Scorpion King movies. They did one, which was released theatrically, and then one that was released non-theatrically,
Direct to video.
direct to video. So no, there are 2 Scorpion Kings, and no, all right. So if you include those, those are 5 mummy type
Wow.
movies.
A lot of mummies.
You ever see the Scorpion King, Josh?
Yes, I saw all the way up through at least the first Scorpion King because my mom was like, "Gotta watch him."
Yeah, I think my mom, after a point, was more excited about him than I was. Because, that second one is, anytime you introduce a child, it's not going to be great. But there are a lot of very direct nods to old-timey, adventure films that really make this movie fun.
I remember watching it with Brandon and be like, this is a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a kid's movie in as much as the Temple of Doom was a kid's movie, where you have all the silly Indiana Jones adventure stuff, but then you also have a guy getting his heart ripped out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, in that sense, Temple of Doom had more of an edge than the Mummy did. I mean, I thought the Mummy was actually pretty light. I mean, at
Yeah.
the very beginning.
It's very funny.
Yeah,
and that's
it
one
is.
thing I didn't remember about it. I mean, who doesn't remember Benny? But
Right. No, the humor worked.
yeah.
So, but no, that was all intentional to just kind of make it lighter and just make it something that basically the whole family could watch and make a viable franchise out of it.
While you're saying that, I'm just remembering this scene with the scarab going up the skin. It's
Yeah.
good old family.
Good old
concept.
family. Well, my family, it was.
It just shows there's consequences to your actions.
That's right.
Don't be
That's right,
greedy.
kids.
Don't peel things off the walls.
If you're a bad kid, I'm going to pull out the scarab.
That's right.
Oh my
Not the
God.
boo box, but yeah.
Don't read from the
Wrong movie.
Necronomicon. That's
Yeah.
or whatever they call that, the
That's
Book
a
of
good
Light
lesson.
or the
Book of
Book of the Dead.
Yeah,
Book
and
of the
then
Dead.
There's the one. there's
Anything
Book
that says Book of the
Amun-Ra.
Dead, you don't want to read from it. That's
Yeah, typically no.
a giant book made of black obsidian-like material. It's probably not a good thing to read out loud from.
I don't see the problem.
And neither did Evie.
Plus, books weren't a thing. It should have been a scroll.
Well, they would have had like
that out there.
tablets.
Maybe.
no. Gutenberg was Egyptian. No, he was. No, he wasn't.
A good Egyptian family named Gutenberg.
That's right.
Well, that was apparently Evie was supposed to be half Egyptian.
Yeah,
and
that's
her
true.
Yeah.
most
Right.
British brother on the face of the planet was supposed to be
Must have
half
been
Egyptian.
the dad's genes there.
Yeah. Everyone's white. Everyone's very white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, the whole main cast. Is there anybody who's other than potentially like the mummy character himself? Like I don't even know who that actor was.
He's South African, so no.
No, so there you did. Okay, never mind.
The Israeli doesn't count.
No.
Didn't they try to make it a newer Egyptian movie that was like pretty much all cast white and even like the Sphinx?
Gods of Egypt.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is, but
Fucking Nikolai Coster-Waldau or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm Egyptian. Blonde Danish man.
Well, actually, where they tried to be accurate, maybe, not in the casting clearly, but they did actually hire an Egyptian professor to actually, phonetically,
Cool.
pronounce what he felt that Egyptians sound like. But of course, who knows what Egyptians sound like?
Right.
Was that the guy who appeared with Evie at the beginning?
No, he's talking about like behind the scenes.
Oh, behind the scenes.
yeah.
Okay.
But then if I heard it right, I think they also said that whenever they would come up with a line in Egyptian, they would just take out or add syllables whenever they felt like it.
Right,
So who knows
so
what
just
actually
a little-
came out.
Great.
Oh yeah, Firefly had a Chinese correspondent, and that it didn't have any effect. They just butchered all.
Oh,
of
it was bad Chinese?
Oh yeah, it was real bad.
Really?
But they still had a correspondent. So anytime a movie says they had someone who was there
just like-
helping, I'm still kind of
Who knows if they listened to
Yeah.
them at all?
Right.
Dubious. Sure.
Yeah. Huh.
yeah, because there's one part
Like
where
they probably did better with Elvish.
there's one part where Wash says like Ayahuale, but like that's not Chinese. You're saying like huale or something like that, not huale.
Oh my gosh, wow. So they weren't even trying. He definitely didn't get help on that one.
Well, yeah, maybe she was out that day.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know anything about the sets. Like I know that they at some point in the line attempted with the spoken Egyptian, but I don't know what they did with the written stuff or how much any of that is like based on actual artifacts or
Like everything we see in the background that's like hieroglyphics
was
and
it
stuff.
just supposed to be cheesy 1920s
Yeah.
versions of, because both would be fine with me.
Yeah, because like when I'm going to watch this, a silly action adventure movie, like as long as it's plausible, it works for me.
Excuse me.
Well, that plausible deniability of,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right, so I don't know if we feel like doing the whole synopsis. Like, we don't have to. 'Cause I feel like this is fun just going back and forth. Like I said yesterday with Sarah, it was basically an hour of us just squeeing about how much we love this movie.
Uh-huh.
So I've got a lot of that out of my system, I think.
I thought it was really weird around the beginning of the movie where it was just monologuing. I was just like, oh, or whatever. Like, someone is talking over the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm not
You
used
mean
to
it's
that.
telling the story at the beginning?
The
Like-
Magi.
The Magi, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And then
those people.
he talks later on,
Uh-huh.
and like over the movie too. And I was just like, this is fucking weird. I never see this in movies anymore.
It would have been weirder if they had gone with the original, which was to have the mummy do that narration.
What?
Yeah.
That would have been very
It should have
awkward.
been like, okay, he's speaking English in the narration, but he only speaks Egyptian, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an upgrade.
I'm like trying to rack my brain right now for like things that stood out to me. I think now being where I am watching this movie again made me think a lot about how I can apply this to Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
Because so much of it is very much like you have to decipher this thing and open up this thing, and then there's all these traps and they actually switched the books and you have to go to this place. It also felt very much like the games like Uncharted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, soon after we watched this movie, I played Uncharted Lost Legacy. It was like the spin-off with two of the side characters. And we were just watching it and it was like, this is exactly like The Mummy. It's got all the trappings of every adventure movie.
It is interesting. You have the A-team, who is
Yes.
like Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz and her brother, and I guess the warden. And then you have the B-team, which is the Americans with their Egyptologist wearing a fez, who's also white.
Yes. And then they're both, there's two factions trying to get the same thing. And then there's this outside elemental like force that's happening too, like the curse of the mummy essentially. And it was like, oh man, I could totally use this in a game, in Dungeons and Dragons. Because like when they figure out the book, I like how they are basically going on this quest, right? And then they get to the location, Hamunaptra, right? Which is like a secret city that you have to wait for the sun
Yeah,
to be in the
you
right.
have to
Another D&D
be there at
thing.
dawn. Right.
Yes, so the sun shows and you can see the path to the city.
Then
They
there's
get
a camel
there.
race.
Yeah. That Evie's camel is like on drugs or something because
Sure.
it's so fast. But they get there and then they finally find like the foot of the statue that they need to go to, and then the thing drops out. They're like, oh, we need to open this. And I love how they totally had their lackeys open it, like the diggers, like, hey, you guys
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
open this.
Like the Egyptologist 100% knows like this is going to be
be
booby
trapped. And like, you go ahead and do it.
Oh my god.
NPCs, and so then they could get completely salted. What was
It's
it?
like
What happened?
acid or something.
It was like
Yeah.
Sulfuric,
Say.
like acidic salt. I forget exactly what it was.
and then I was like, aha, write it down in my dungeon master notebook.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll appear in Ryutama.
No.
I think during that same race or whatever, the American team was like, they are led by a woman. Well, what does a woman know? And I was like, what the fuck?
Hard cut to her
Yeah.
knowing things.
Yeah.
I
That's right.
know. Because, I was like, wow.
But
this
that was the point, was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like,
It's
he
an
was
easy
shitty.
way. It's an easy way to show someone is a villain, or at least the rival.
Sure,
Of just
kick the dog.
Yep.
Jeez. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's actually a good point with because Arnold Vosloo in his the commentary actually made a very good point that Evie's the main character
Yes.
of the Mummy,
Yeah.
Yes.
not Brendan Fraser. Evie's the one that
Yeah, he's the
kind of
sidekick.
drives. Yeah, he's the sidekick.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Brendan Fraser just very much. I mean, the casting was brilliant in the sense that it perfectly fit the mood
Yeah.
because
He's
yeah,
very good at comedy.
Yeah, he's good at comedy. He has that old-fashioned, old-timey leading
He's
man
a little Cary
type
Grant
of thing.
kind of, charm.
Yep, very physically imposing, but
Yes.
still goofy.
Yeah, that's, I think, another part of it is he's very much willing to make fun of himself.
Right. And when you think about the other people that they could have cast in 1999, it would have thrown the tone off if you would have cast, like, I don't know,
Tom Cruise.
or
For example.
Schwarzenegger or
Oh yeah.
or
That would've been fun.
Bruce Willis or even Harrison Ford, who's already done that.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's kind of like the one thing which didn't really convince me, just a small thing where, they're going to release him from prison, and it's like, Brendan Fraser didn't spend 3 years in a
that
Cairo
hair.
prison with that. It's like, we'll just grow his hair long, and he spent 3 years, and it's like, no. But again, that's just very, very minor.
Yeah.
I mean, he hit the right exact tone that the movie was going for.
There is the one American, the off-brand Brendan Fraser, actually auditioned for that role
Yeah.
and didn't get it, but the director liked him, so I think he actually made that role for that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Sometimes, the secondary character, gets, a little something.
I can't remember the American Crew hardly at all.
The only thing I remember about the American Crew is that they were both gambling on who would find the secret city first. But the gamble was like $500. It's like, if you find the secret city and you just have all this treasure.
Right, 500.
Yeah. Why are you gambling?
Yeah.
I already have the treasure.
I remember the glasses one.
My glasses.
Oh, yeah. The Mummy took the worst person to get eyes from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
That was, I think, going to be part of the joke, that was in the script originally, was that he took the bad eyes, and so, like, that's why he's confused as to, he thinks
why
Evie
she's
is Ansunamun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was communicated
fine.
to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have in my notes. Good job stealing the bad eyes, Mummy Man.
Because, like, he ends up stealing, because they each take a canopic jar, right? And so he's, like, taking their organ. So another very D&D thing. You took my jars, I'm going to take from you. Because he's not killing them. He's just, he did ends up draining the life.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
kill him together. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, never mind.
It's kind of like after you finish a Pacific cooler. It's just you just suck it up and you got this little.
Crumple it up.
Crumple up.
Wow, what a metaphor.
Because, the Mummy, when we first see him, is just like this. He's not even desiccated. He's, what they say? What'd they say?
Juicy.
Juicy.
Yeah, I had that too. Juicy.
This isn't right. He wasn't like,
He does look like beef jerky.
yeah.
They could have made some Mummy Brown out of him.
Some what?
Mummy Brown. There is a certain paint pigment that was made out of mummies.
Wow. This is the stuff I didn't know.
Yeah, so some of those famous paintings use mummy. It's not called Mummy Brown, but that color can only be made from pressed mummies. So it's a very limited quantity paint now in the world.
You just reminded me
This
of.
sounds like something Napoleon would have come up with.
It was about that time, I
It was
think.
about that, around that time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
If you look at every single color pigment, there's some horror
Yeah.
that causes it. I remember reading something about a yellow, but it was only a type of yellow for the urine of a dehydrated animal that's like eaten something. They would
Artist,
take that.
man. I don't get it. I don't
This
get it.
color's inspiring. I need
crazy
more.
alchemy.
Yeah, that's one of my goals in the next couple of weeks is look for the color libraries and what actually leads to these colors. I saw this short video of this guy just like pulling out pigments and it's like, yeah, this is what you do to get this color. And he had like all these colors that were really rare.
He's just grinding
But
bugs.
yeah, they're all probably equally horrible in how you get them.
Well, yeah, very
Like
tiny
mummies.
bug grinder,
Ugh.
The cat that eats the mummy, and then that's how you get
Yes.
the horrible yellow.
And then the civet shits the coffee.
Because you take it from
yeah.
the cat's liver because the mummy's, digesting. Oh, whatever. Let's
Yeah.
I have a lot of notes about how I forget what's the main female's name?
Evie?
Evie. Okay, she was like down to fuck so many times.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, oh, geez.
Again, she's my proxy, so
Which part? The one she's drunk?
Even though it's like this is a
that
very
was her
important.
weakest scene for sure.
This is
Yeah,
a very
it was-
important sarcophagus. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a very important sarcophagus.
Yeah, or very naughty, and then
Oh, he did
she
something
looks,
very naughty.
Yeah, and then looks at the guy. It's like ready to fuck him again. I was like,
Yeah, that drunk scene was
yeah.
pretty bad. Like, that is not how a drunk person acts. That's how an actor who's like, you're drunk now. Now try and do this.
But that's how they act in a kid's movie.
Ah, that's a kid's
Nailed
version
it.
of drunk.
Yeah. My favorite part about that scene was they kept passing that bottle, but the top had been broken off.
Yeah.
And they were still drinking from it.
That's why
and
I
they
found
were
it.
they were just passing it back and forth.
I'm like, you're going to get glass in your belly.
Slice your lips right
Yucky.
open.
I like how we're just like worried about that. You're going to get your lips cut and there's like a mummy after that.
Yeah, the glass part was very unsettling to me, more so than
Yeah.
the other stuff.
It made me worried about the actual prop that was on set. Like,
Yeah, it was, I think, kind of a dangerous shoot for lots of people.
Was that when she got drunk? That was the night before she read from the book, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, because then the next night,
Because I think the warden was one of the first ones to go,
gotcha.
and it would have been after that that the locusts and stuff started coming.
just never read from a book.
You must not read from the book.
don't. If you have an ancient book of the dead,
Don't read it out loud.
if you have a language that you don't understand,
Yeah.
just don't read it. Read from it.
I'm remembering something now because it's been 2 months since I watched this movie. But the whole reason why they got there is because Evie's brother found a key.
He bought a key or stole. Was it stole?
Stole
Off
from
it.
probably, and Evie was able to figure out, depress the right hieroglyphics, and it opened, and there was a map inside.
Yep.
And so I remember when she took the map to her boss, the museum curator, and he's like looking at it, and then he just like holds it over a flame, and I was like,
Oopsie.
I'm a museum curator, and I was like, then I got squint eyes, and I was like, huh.
It's
You don't
no, it
want them
turns
to
out-
find a Hamanoptera.
Well, no, it turns out that he's part of that organization.
Yeah,
that's
that's the
supposed to
thing.
keep
Like
them
even
from the-
within that scene, it's very ambiguous whether he did it on purpose or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when my first note was idiot reading from a map on top of a candle, but then he did it on purpose. So it must have been in the same scene that they did hint at something more with him.
So yeah, they have this map that's supposed to be for the city of Hamunaptra, which she, I think, wants to go because she wants to find this book of Amun-Ra.
Yep.
Like she wants this artifact just because of its academic value.
Yes. Which is different than the Book of Death.
Dead, yeah.
And then different than the Book of Life, or is it the Book of the opposite? Is it the other one?
There's death in Amun-Ra.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. Just wondering.
I don't remember which is which because I think they get them mixed up.
They do. 100%. Because she finds out later on, doing her great critical puzzle thinking, she'd be a great adventurer, finds out that she's a great adventurer, finds out that the books were actually swapped. So good for D&D.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just good
He's got
story
ideas, too.
surrounding.
Just run a one shot. Roll plus con.
Yep.
Also, midway or third way through the movie, yet again they do a fade to next scene like a TV show.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, there's some very fun like old adventure movie wipes.
Kind of like in Star Wars, right?
Yeah,
I was
Yeah.
going to ask, is that from
That's
those
part
old
of it,
movies?
I think.
Yep, that is. Yep, Lucas swiped those.
Another thing I noticed, I think this was intentional to look like a black and white movie, was there's a lot of silhouetting when stuff was happening. Like at the very beginning when they're stabbing the pharaoh.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
There's a point when the mummy is sucking the life out of
Yep.
the bourbon guy,
Yeah.
and it's silhouetted.
Yeah.
And I think that opening scene is echoed toward the end where it looks similar.
I thought
remember
so
right.
because they go and stab him again when they turn the undead on
Oh,
him.
Right.
Yep.
And yeah, because, I mean, in black and white movies, really all you have is lighting. And so to play with that, I think, is a very direct nod to that stuff.
And it makes it kid friendly.
Yeah, because you don't actually see the gore.
It's just like Lion King had some of that too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
We see the hyenas.
Yep. We see the stampede.
No harm ever comes from reading a book proceeds to cause harm.
Because what happens, she reads from the book and it
Yeah.
unleashes the mummy. It brings him back to life.
Yep, it
And then he
does
has to
all
go
that.
collect his Horcruxes or whatever.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they have this burned up map, and they're like, well, we can't really use this map. So she has her brother take her back to the guy he stole it from, who is Brendan Fraser, extremely handsome and in jail. And they have to bust him out, which they do. Like, she makes this deal with the warden, who's also trying to come onto her, and
Yep.
she slaps that off pretty effectively.
Also, he has plot armor, but of Nick plot armor. because they straight up hang him, and he's just like, oh, the whole
Yeah, he's
time.
holding. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
I
really
forgot
weird.
about that.
Yeah, I was just like, holy shit.
It's because he has really thick
Oh.
neck muscles. Because he's Brendan Fraser
Oh.
That
in 1990.
motherfucker legitimately almost died. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he passed out, and
Yep.
Oh, really?
they had to
It-
resuscitate him.
oh, they did? In
yeah,
did, yeah.
it was legit.
I feel like I hear that about every movie that has a hanging. It's like, stop doing that.
Also, like, a lot
Let
of
him stand on a damn box.
Yeah, a lot of movies are like that, where they're like, she broke her pelvis when they did this
Right.
one thing, or when they, I'm like, what the heck?
The brother toward the end has like a wrist thing, and I think they play it off like he has a scarab in his arm at one point, and they cut it out.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's how they explain the wrist thing, but he had actually broken his wrist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
God.
Wow.
Well, gotta suffer for the art, I guess.
And then they had a guy that had to go in and clear out all the snakes and scorpions and shit. Like, there were hella bugs on the set.
I don't
yeah.
want to be
Oh, I
that job, a
Yeah, no.
scorpion handler.
That's not my job for sure.
Well, that's a wrangler. They
The wrangler,
wrangle
yes,
the
exactly,
wrangler
exactly.
That's where the
comes in
idea
and
of the
wrangles
Scorpion
them
King
critters.
came from.
That was the first set.
Yeah, that was his credit to the movie.
A
Scorpion
critter
King.
wrangler, I think, is the technical
That's
term.
funny.
So awful. I would not want that job.
Yeah, I don't think you could pay me enough.
Yeah, I forgot about the hangings. Didn't he also get dragged from a horse
He-
while also
lots
being
of stuff.
tied up? Oh, his
Yeah.
hands. Yeah.
Hands, yeah.
Ugh.
I just have this note. Benny always looks so sweaty.
Yeah.
Because he's
Well, he's sleazy.
He is very
He's
sleazy.
always,
He is very much weaselly.
Yep.
He's perfect.
I wish I could do his voice.
I know it, me too.
God, it's such a good and distinct voice.
The way it breaks is so perfect.
Is he the voice of Bartok from
I would doubt it. It would surprise me if he were.
Anastasia?
Because that movie was my shit. I think I saw that one in theaters like 3 times.
I don't think I've ever seen Anastasia.
Took a sick day from school with my mom and we went to see it.
Wow.
Anastasia's a good damn movie. I still have that soundtrack, man.
Nope, it was not. It was Hank Azaria.
Oh, yeah,
Azaria?
that's
Wow.
right. I should have known that. But yeah, it was a very similar, like, fake
Yeah.
accent. The subtitles said it was Hungarian. I saw swearing in Hungarian a couple times.
I have a note saying everyone dual wielding and looking dumb. Of just like
Yeah.
Oh.
all characters
Sharing
constantly.
2 guns.
Yeah. Yep. Center of your head, you're not actually looking down the sights at all. You're just pew pew.
Oded Fair a couple times in the commentary track makes this remark about how Jonathan has the smallest gun in the world, and he was so distracted by it that, like, he almost couldn't keep a straight face. Like, this tall, dark, handsome Israeli man is, like, trying not to laugh because this tiny gun is just killing him.
Well, the whole dual wielding thing, came from Hong Kong because a lot of those movies were,
Oh.
the whole John Woo. It's like, hey, you
Yeah.
have to have 2 guns in order to be a badass.
There was definitely a dual wielding era of American movies in response to that. That just is just so silly to see. Every movie had to have it.
Oh yeah, well, talking about movies from 1999, Matrix had that
Yeah.
all over the place.
All over.
So, sure.
Yeah.
Dropping 2 guns, pulling out 2
So
more
many
Yeah.
guns.
It's like, well, I don't need those guns anymore. I got guns for days.
Sure do.
There's a lot of good action in this movie. I'm thinking about like the intro when Brendan Fraser's character was introduced when they were in that secret city before the
There was so
all the
much good
black clad
choreography. Yeah.
people. There was a lot of good stuff. He or whoever the stuntman was just they got their money's worth out of that.
I think he does a lot of the stunts. Like, I mean, just judging from the fact that he was almost hanged.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, like, as a person, he has had surgery after surgery because his body has fallen apart because he's just a big dude that does stunts.
How many trees did he hit in George of the Jungle?
That's a good question. I don't know.
You can't have that movie without him hitting a tree.
I did forget about that. It has been so long since I've seen that. I don't think that since I've hit puberty I've seen that, and I think that's a mistake.
Isn't that one of your movies for this podcast series?
I don't think it was made in
I
99.
don't think it was. I think a little earlier, like maybe 90.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it might have been the movie before The Mummy.
He's in a couple movies that year, though.
Outside of this, I can't really picture him in other things. I don't remember.
A lot of rom-coms. Like, was it called Bedazzled?
Yeah, Bedazzled was
geez.
him.
Blast from the Past, I think, was 99.
Right.
Yep, right.
That was when he was.
He was in the
Encino
bunker.
Man.
Was that?
Encino Man was like a couple of years actually. That might have been
That was,
his
I think,
first.
one of his first ones.
Yeah, so that might have been like more like 97 or.
And then there was like one with like football, I think, like a high school.
Oh, yeah, that was more of a drama. That's,
Yeah.
I don't remember the name
I don't
of
remember it
it.
either. But yeah, he's doing, I think, more TV now.
Oh, I didn't know he
He's
was still doing things.
Getting back into TV.
Actually, he was on Doom Patrol. I mean, DC Comics, for like 15 minutes had their own little streaming service, and they were doing series based on their
DC,
comics. Yeah. And, apparently, it only lasted. It started this year, and I think literally it's done. I mean, it's already like whatever this is, August. Yeah, but one of the series that they did was Doom Patrol with Brendan Fraser as one of the main characters. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Doom Patrol is actually going to HBO. Because, so if you missed it, which you probably
Which
did,
you did, because
who
Who bought a DC subscription?
Yeah, nobody bought a DC streaming subscription. So you have to either get it on DVD or not watch HBO. But yeah, there's that one story that came out where Fraser was sexually harassed by some dude.
Yeah, that was something that Sarah and I talked about, was that there was a really good interview with him in GQ last year.
He was born in Indianapolis, Indiana?
He was born, yep.
To, I think, Canadian parents.
Yeah, they moved around. I don't think they stuck in Indianapolis for any significant length of time, but no, he was technically born here.
Homegrown.
Wow. I don't know that about him.
Nice.
He's 50.
Yeah, that's so old.
In my head, it's like you see a movie of that person, and it's like you forget that they exist outside of those films.
Yes, he's aged.
He's
since
always
then.
30 years old.
Yeah, or 20, whatever, when we saw him. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But yeah, that actor, he went through some stuff for a while there.
Best known for The Mummy.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, probably. That's probably his defining role.
Yeah, I think so.
Outside of those really early ones, like Encino Man, I think that's synonymous with him. But
Yeah. Was that Pauly Shore? Because I hate it if it is.
that's how I feel about Pauly Shore too, but I don't know, because I think I've only seen one of his movies, and that was enough.
I've never actually known what the. I'm sorry, we're off on the Pauly Shore
That's
tangent, but never actually who did Pauly Shore appeal to? I mean, I'm not kids, because you were a kid at the time and didn't appeal to you.
Maybe
That's very similar to the question of who was the audience for Bicentennial Man that we had. Like, we could not figure out who that was for. Yeah, I don't know who Pauly Shore's for.
Yeah,
Pauly
Yeah,
Shore's
okay.
for Pauly
Pauly
Shore.
Shore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
because I was an adult at the time when he hit big, and so I'm supposed to be grumpy about this stuff. but at the time when it's like, yeah, you're right. Who is this for?
Yeah.
I have a couple of notes. Why everybody got to kiss the book girl, even the mummy? I feel like I saw it time after time of someone getting into a position and kissing her.
She's the only woman.
Yeah, she is the only woman, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she is
Female
the
lead.
only target for
For that type
all
of
of
thing.
that.
for
There was a
the
lot of that.
harassment. Yeah.
And also, why did the curse? These are my bad notes. Why did this curse humans gave this human? I guess maybe this is referring to the mummy.
I'm really
anyway,
trying to parse it.
anyway, the human curse that they put on the mummy gave him moon moving powers. Like
Moon moving.
Moon.
What are you talking about?
yeah, there was a scene where the
Moon.
moon was moving,
Oh,
and it was
that.
because of the curse. Like, why would you?
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's what
because when the sunlight went, because that's
Well,
part of the.
Yeah, that's one of the curses of that Moses put on the.
plague.
He just said, "We're going to have an eclipse."
Oh, yeah, the darkness thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's like it's going to be dark
Yeah.
at noon because you're not letting my people go, assholes.
So
It's
well,
like they cursed him, but they gave him so many powers in that curse.
I know, it's like you slept with the pharaoh's concubine and she killed the pharaoh. So what we're going to do, instead of just executing you so you're just dead, is we're going to do a horrible ritual that will, if anybody resurrects you, you're
kinda-
going to come back with like godlike powers that's going to end humanity.
I do wonder if that's one of those short-sighted human things of like, this will never happen.
I think that's more like a side effect because I think they're trying to
Yeah.
make him so he doesn't go to the afterlife be with the concubine and all those other people. So it's like, we're going to put you in this middle
he's
area.
Super trapped. Yeah.
But also, you will have godlike powers that will end humanity.
If you're freed, hopefully not.
Not our problem.
So you're
Yeah.
so what he because he would what he they actually stopped him from killing himself, didn't they? in the opening scenes. Do you remember that? Was he trying?
I think so. I think
was he
so.
going?
Yeah,
Yes,
because
then
they
he
wanted
could go
to keep
join
him-
her.
They wanted
Yeah.
to bury him alive with all the scarabs. and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. But yeah, to stop it so that he can't get with his.
They should have just mummified him bad, and then it would have been fine. He wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Isn't that the thing?
But then there'd
I
be
have
no
no idea.
movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Damn it. Damn it. You're right. But yeah, that just always cracked me up where it's like, here your punishment is this horrible thing. Okay, cool.
Got it.
If you come back, maybe you will have godlike
You
powers.
have godlike powers.
But they put a sign on his sarcophagus, so no one will bring him back.
But he's suffering.
Yeah.
We put a sign.
Yeah.
Can't you?
Do not
an
open.
Yeah, it's an ancient Egyptian, but we just figured everybody will be speaking that in 2,000 years.
I was playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins for a while there, and something that came up that I thought was interesting. Like, I never think about it, but they look at all the ruins and they see it as ancient. So, like in Cleopatra times, they were already so far removed from ancient Egypt that they didn't know a whole lot about what happened in their own history.
Yeah, well, also, Cleopatra, wasn't she not actually Egyptian?
She was Greek.
Yeah, because Ptolemy came in and was like, hey, I'm king now, Egyptians.
Yeah,
and
they
then
were Macedonian.
So that, yeah, it became Macedonian line. So you don't even know
Yeah, they
basically
just-
after
They
that.
just kind of, white savior,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
etc.
White people save everybody.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yay, White people. Oh,
Everyone's half
This
Egyptian.
podcast took a horrible turn. Saying, yay, white people. We're just talking about something that could be misinterpreted.
Take it out of context.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sarah and I also talked about a lot of news yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
There was a lot of news yesterday.
Yeah. So the Magi roll up on Dubs and proceed to lose horribly and run away.
Oh, yeah. They come in to try to prevent, because like there's this whole, were they the ones that actually performed the ceremony?
They're supposed to protect. At
They're
least,
the guards
yeah.
of, well,
Or these guys in
in
black?
Assassin's Creed, they're the guards of the Pharaoh.
Yeah, I believe they're still supposed to be the guards of.
Okay.
So it would make sense that they would want to fix anything that the Pharaoh had done.
Set in place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got their asses handed to them. First, just guns versus
Guns.
swords.
They had some guns too.
Did they?
Yeah, but for some reason they didn't know how to shoot
They
them.
didn't dual wield. That's the problem.
That's
Yeah,
right.
sure, they should have dual wielded. Well, no, they just had to wait for white Brendan Fraser and
Yeah,
right Rachel Weisz and white John Hanna.
And they
It's
also,
fine.
they were also just so cryptic. That's another thing that I don't understand is like when a group that's like trying to stop something that they know people are doing, stay cryptic.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't be here. And you're like, why? And they're like, you just shouldn't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, dude.
At least the guy with the fez just said, "You must not read from the book." Like, all right, I got that. Like, those are my directions. I hear you.
But why?
I don't care. I have my instructions.
Okay.
The Magi did not give me instructions.
Yeah, they're just like, don't. Whatever.
They just hang out on cliffs and
leer.
yeah, leer. Perfect. So the boat's on fire. They're on the way to Hamunaptra. They're with Rick, and they keep the key safe, but they basically let the Magi have the map because I'm the map. The map's up here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rick already knows how to get there. And they get separated on different sides of the river.
Right.
That's right.
But then they're there at the same time anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Right.
Because was that the race versus horse versus camels?
Horses
Yeah.
versus camels.
We
So,
got
like-
all the horses.
Even though they were on camels, they still caught up at the same time.
I don't know how fast camels get.
I don't know.
Never ridden a camel, so
Yeah.
I haven't
can't
either.
speak to that.
Yeah, apparently they were appropriately ornery on set.
Oh yeah, apparently you can't train a camel. The
Yeah.
camel will either do what you want or it won't. It doesn't care.
I think, how did Oded Fair put it? I think he said that camels are smarter than horses, and so they remember when they are in places that they don't like and are doing stuff that they didn't like, whereas horses are just dumb enough to train.
Well, camels act like they hate the entire desert.
They do. I think they hate everything.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those camel scenes were just straight camera footage of trying to wrangle them. Like, I don't remember much about it other than Rachel's character just having a bad time on it.
I think everybody pretty much had a hard time. Benny didn't like his camel. Jonathan tried to give his a kiss, I guess. He needed a kiss. I don't know. We're kind of all over the place, but
Yeah.
that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
easy
all
to
good.
skip around because there's just so many like
It's so fun. Like, it's just so colorful. Like, there's nothing but set pieces.
yeah.
And
There's a lot of really fun moments that
Yeah.
are easy to remember. Like I have this one part where the mummy he could have burst through this one door, but he just turned to sand and went through the keyhole.
or why didn't he just turn into sand under the door? Like,
Yeah.
it didn't have to be the keyhole.
It was a really good visual piece.
The other question I had was, why wasn't the cat in the bedroom with her
Yeah.
Yeah.
at all times? Like,
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser at one point comes in wielding the cat to scare him away.
Yeah.
You should have dual wielded the
I-
cat.
I mean,
Cats.
yes. That's what I'm saying. Not just dual itself, just strap yourself with like a bandolier of
Yeah.
kittens.
A bandolier of cats.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
a baby Bjorn with the cat.
Yeah,
I
just
love
cats
it.
all over you at this point. Like, why not? If you know it's his like weakness. It's
amazing.
Well, yeah, it's 1920s in Egypt. There are probably feral cats
There's
all
cats
over the place.
everywhere.
Yeah.
God, get some cats.
If you stand still in Assassin's Creed Origins long enough, you will just be surrounded by cats.
Oh, really?
Oh.
They just come and hang out.
Huh.
You can pet
Nice.
them.
That's cute.
They just follow you around.
During that, also around that same time, like Benny had already, sworn his allegiance to the mummy.
Yes.
And when he finally shows up again, he's like, "Oh, he's super emo." He's like, he has like a whole bunch of black on and black eye mascara and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
emo Benny."
God, Benny.
But he was a good character.
I
for this
love
movie.
him.
I mean, just the sleazy character who's just always with the team that's ahead at the time. You know?
And as cartoony as he is, he's also very subtle in his line deliveries.
Yes, his line deliveries are so good. And
I
just
know.
like, yeah.
Like, I don't remember often seeing him talk. I just hear lines
Yeah.
emanate from his direction.
I can't even I can't picture any of the lines that he's saying. I just hear that just the noise of him,
I know.
the sleazy words.
Right.
But I can't picture what those. I can't remember what those words
He's like
were.
pinned up against the wall.
He's
Oh,
just.
that's right.
I don't
pure
want to tell you
sleaze.
what I said because you'll hurt me some more.
Yeah.
Well, there's that one line that he had lived when they were on the ship, and Brendan Fraser discovers
yeah.
him, and then again he grabs him and puts the gun to his head, and he says, "Think about my children. You don't have
You
any
don't have
children.
kids."
I may someday."
Yeah.
Apparently, that was all just cool. And
He's the
apparently,
greatest.
That's
the
fun.
line was something else, and they
Yeah.
decided to try something else.
That's fun. That's good. God.
I love those kind of lines that are like last second, either not written in the script or completely ad-libbed. That stuff is always so fun.
I wonder how often that happens versus how often it makes it to the final cut.
Joss Whedon does it all the time. Like on the Avengers, apparently.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff, especially when he's talking to Robert Downey Jr. Well, actually, it's same with Jon Favreau. Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. likes to improvise. So,
Who's going to argue with him?
well, now, I mean,
Yeah.
when the first Iron Man came, it's like, okay, Mr. Rehab Boy, but at the time,
Joss
yeah,
Whedon kind of writes like that anyway.
he does, which is good. I mean, I like Joss Whedon.
Not as a person, but
Well, right. I mean,
as a director, sure.
well, sure. Well, like you said, never meet your heroes.
Yeah, totally.
What are some good ad lib stuff? Because I have a few in mind. It's the "I Love You, I Know" from Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark where the sword fight scene,
Oh, sure.
where he just pulls out the gun and shoots the dude.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, because apparently Harrison Ford was under
Not
very
feeling it.
severe. Yeah, he was actually feeling some very severe gastrointestinal distress. So they said, "Okay, we'll finish this up so Harrison can go to the bathroom." So,
well, that's two from Harrison. I feel like there's some more. I'm trying to remember.
some ad lib lines.
Oh, the end of Iron Man, where he just says he's at the press conference and he just
yeah,
says,
I'm Iron Man.
"Yeah."
Well,
was-
apparently, speaking of Iron Man, going back to the first one, that whole bit, at the beginning where he's with the soldiers and saying, "Oh, don't put up that gang symbol." It's like, "Oh, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding." Throw it up there. All that. In fact, basically, Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. just threw out almost the entire script.
Oh, wow.
And just ad-libbed
Wow.
most of the lines that came out. Just because they hated the script so much.
I find that to be so impressive from people who aren't improvisers. Like, it's so hard to do. And if you can just let it roll off your tongue that way, that's amazing to me.
"Oh,
Well,
and Bicentennial
Favreau
Man.
actually studied at Second City, so
Okay.
he was, he knew how to improvise. I don't know about Joss Whedon's, training, but and Robert Downey, I don't think ever improvised, but I think he just
Probably
can
not.
naturally do it.
Yeah.
Bicentennial Man had that ad lib with the jokes they requested.
Right.
So there's another one.
Well, Robin Williams
Yeah.
would improvise all the time.
Right.
Almost everything from Aladdin was improvised.
I didn't know that.
Good Morning Vietnam. Oh, something I found out, this was on a meme, but Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which, by the way, is my favorite movie of all time, where they're meeting the Enchanter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're saying, and what do they call you, Enchanter? I am known as... Tim? And apparently it's supposed to be some sort of long,
Yeah.
but they just rolled with it.
It's so good, but it's such a good iconic line. Like, that's so funny.
So now we can add the Mummy to the list of good ad libs.
Oh, and this is Spinal Tap, almost completely ad libbed. Every scene,
that.
they basically came up with a situation and just said, "Yeah, go
for it."
Go for it."
Yeah, that makes sense for that.
Here's another note I have. I remember asking so many questions when we were watching this movie, and I just thought about all the times I was watching movies with adults when I was a kid, and they just kept asking all these dumb questions. I realize now, like, this is why. Like, these movies are just weird, and the situations they get into are just nonsensical sometimes, and you're just constantly like, why is this happening? And as a kid, I'm like, this is so annoying listening to these adults who just don't get it. But I'm a kid who just, like, accepts everything without explanation. But now I understand. Now I'm that adult making dumb questions.
So Winston is a pretty interesting character.
The old guy, the pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot all about Winston.
That's another
He's
good
so
character.
cool.
Yeah. Just literally chilling out in the dunes as the Air Force. It's just like,
All he wants to do is fly and be what rank was he? I don't even remember. What they called
Colonel?
him. They probably called him Colonel. And his death. Very tragic moment of the movie.
He died happy.
Yeah, he died happy.
yeah.
Did he actually die with a smile on his face?
I
I think
Just
so.
about,
yeah.
He served one purpose. There was the contact they made early on.
It's a one-purpose NPC.
Yep, one-purpose NPC.
All right. Thank you.
I think we call those red shirts.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
The CG during the sandstorm chase, that just reminded me of like Star Fox Andros. Just the face was just so bad. It was like
Giant face.
Also, during this time, Benny was stupid as hell because he said, I need a new job. And I put, what the fuck? You're serving death. There is no more job.
What are you going to do after this?
Yeah.
You're never working again.
Yet again, later on in my notes, Benny, you are so dumb.
Just in general,
Yeah.
apparently.
I also had a lot of negative thoughts about Jonathan in my notes.
Really?
Yeah.
I had the weirdest crush on him growing up.
Oh, really? The brother?
Yeah, I was just like, literally one, fuck Jonathan, you're dumb as hell.
What?
With the scarab.
Oh, because he's being greedy and plucking on the
Yeah,
scarab.
and then it's
right.
like, perfect shot, scarab kill.
I still have a huge crush on him. I think watching him was a lot more interesting to me than a lot of the other stuff because of his comedic role.
Well, actually, it's pretty interesting. The actor is John Hannah, and before The Mummy, he had actually never done comedy. It's like he had always done romantic, bits and things and dramatic stuff. In fact, he went to the director saying, I've never done comedy. I don't know if I can do it. But the director just said, no, you're right for the part. I'll talk you through it.
Yeah.
And that works.
I think one of the comments that they made in the commentary track was that he was really worried about the scene where the mob is coming and he like steps out into the mob and like pretends to be one of
right.
them.
Yeah.
But
That was a good
He really pulled it
Yeah,
off.
he did a
Yeah.
good job.
He did.
I think
I
it's
forgot about that.
because of that subtlety.
I mean, he looked uneasy, and that was exactly what you needed in that scene.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. What's some of your other negative stuff other than he's just dumb?
Let me go find.
Was it when he scared her in the museum?
May have been.
When he's in a sarcophagus with
yeah,
a dead mummy?
that was one of the things.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the mummies are usually dead, except for the one that's alive in this one.
Right.
Oh, I also had Jonathan, shut your damn mouth at the poker table.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he was giving away information.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah.
And also, how the fuck did no one else open up that box from Jonathan? That was
Because you had
way
to be
early on.
Evie.
I guess so.
You had to be smart.
Only the woman is smart enough.
Yep.
At one point, I don't remember. So when they're reviving, so they finally get to the thing, and the mummy, has full control and starting to revive his
Because he
love.
has Evie and he's going to
Yeah,
sacrifice her.
and it seems at one point, I don't know if this is the mummy himself or one of the other characters. I just put, who's hotter, her or the old Egypt lady?
Old Egypt lady.
Old Egypt lady.
Especially if you're going to revive her at the prime
Yeah,
of her,
exactly. Egypt lady.
Well, I mean, she figures in pretty prominently in the sequel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Oh,
Like she
yeah.
actually gets lines.
she does get lines.
Oh, huh.
And
I never actually watched the sequels.
It's
Are
been a
they-
long time.
You
How,
don't- I
how
think-
do they compare to this
I
movie?
think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think-
you're good.
Yeah, you
good.
don't need to see any of the
No.
sequels. Yeah, they're not
No.
that good. Or even the Scorpion King. Her Scorpion Kangs, I think.
Okay.
That's what I remember
Kang.
hearing at the time. Like, people were not hot on the sequels even then.
I mean, at least for me personally, like there's such a nostalgia factor with this one that I think it would have been hard for anything else to match up.
Right.
Plus, it also wasn't as good. So,
Well, yeah, there's that.
yeah, it's just like objectively.
Well, the tone just wasn't as consistent, I seem to remember.
I think that
because-
might have been what it is. Yeah.
Because I don't know, well, spoilers are allowed, but they actually, kill off for, like an hour, the Rachel Weisz. Well, actually, they recast it, right? It wasn't Rachel
That
Weisz?
was, I think, for the third one.
Oh, the third one they
Maria
recast.
Bello.
Maria Bello was okay, but Rachel Weisz was in the second
I
one?
think she was, yeah.
Okay. So they stab her. Like the whole, she basically the hot Egyptian woman does an Electra.
Right.
Yeah, with a little sigh and stabs Rachel Weisz.
Oof.
And then that's just, even though, she came back, spoiler alert, but again, it kind of throws off the tone. It's supposed to be this light thing, and, killing off a main character, if only temporarily, kind of throws off the tone.
I don't know how, but it's something I think about the scope also felt different. I don't know if it's just because a lot of this was filmed in Morocco, just out in the open, and a lot of the second one I think was probably filmed in a studio.
Yeah, I think you're right. I seem to remember a lot of studio sets.
Like, I just remember running around city streets.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember about the second one. And then, like, some kind of South American pyramid?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's all I can remember is jungle forest.
Yeah, I don't know
pyramids,
what
and I was
happened
like,
with that.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
So no longer in Egypt?
No.
No longer in
I-
Egypt.
no,
They
it
had to
wasn't.
go after. Well, the same mummy came back, Arnold Vosloo, and then they had to team up to fight the Scorpion King. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he shows up at one point. Yeah.
Because the Scorpion King was
It's just
supposed to be. I remember it looking pretty dopey. if
Yes,
I
it was
remember.
very
Yeah,
interesting
it was.
CG.
Yeah.
because it's like kind of his real top, and everything else was like.
Yeah, it was like,
I remember the
like
face
the
not really
crab.
moving. Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh.
yeah.
Yes.
It
Not
was
great.
really weird.
Yeah, one thing about the special effects of the 1999 Mummy is something you really don't see anymore is the one effects house doing everything. Because, with movies, more recently, it's like, you have 6 or 7 at
Everybody
least.
has their specialty.
Yeah, everybody has their Well, a lot of times studios will play effects houses off of each other, and so basically it's like anything else, like building, like putting windows in, buildings and stuff. It's like trying to get the cheapest price.
Yeah.
Still, maintaining the schedule. So a lot of people who work digital effects can hardly make any money because the upper management basically lowballs how much a specific,
Right.
specific task will cost.
Do you think in this case, was it because a lot of what they were doing was new, so they were like
think so.
basically inventing a lot of this stuff?
I think so. Lucas was pretty much it was Lucas and Jan Cameron's Lightstorm were the only 2 effects houses that were actually kind of in the same ballpark doing similar stuff. So I really think that there just weren't that many options, but luckily Lucas, the Lucas folks knew what they were doing, and so worked out. That's why you had a more, I think in this movie, a more constant quality of special effects than maybe the sequels.
Yeah. Sure. It was at least cohesive, if not perfect, but it at least all went together.
Did this movie do well in the box office?
Oh, it did. Yeah, it was one of the. I don't know if it actually won the year or not. I mean, I don't know what the number one. I don't know if it was well, it wasn't The Matrix because The Matrix was R, but I think it still broke records as being the number 1 R-rated movie of all time. But as far as just sheer dollars,
This would not surprise me, as, like you said, being family friendly.
Yeah.
Anybody can get into it. Like,
Yeah.
it's action, it's fun. There's mummies.
yeah,
There's fun characters.
Yeah.
It's easy to relate to like the smarmy asshole than like someone who's like a cold adventurer.
Yeah.
You don't really have those. You have the smarmy guy. You have like the Nathan Drakes and the Malcolm Reynolds kind of character.
Right.
This was rated PG-13,
Mm-hmm.
and it made 415.9 million USD box office.
Total?
Yeah. It took 80 million to produce it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it
Seems
yeah.
like not a lot, actually.
Opening weekend, it made 43 million.
Wow, that was a good sign.
Yeah, that was May 7th when it came out. So yeah.
Okay.
So does it say whether or not it actually won? As far as box office that year?
I'm looking.
Live fact checking.
Yeah. I can't really
Yeah.
tell.
I don't see anything.
400 million for 1999 was a lot.
Accolades. Here we go. Academy Awards Best Sound nominated.
Trying to think of sound things from the movie that stick out.
Yeah, it didn't actually win very much. The only things that won was from the BMI Film Awards was Best Music and
Okay, sure.
and Best Makeup from the Saturn Awards.
Yes.
But it was nominated for a lot of things, but it only won 2 things.
I guess Benny's eye makeup is
That's
just
right.
that good.
So good. More of like
That
opening scene.
The opening scene
Yeah.
with what's her covered in gold.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
pretty ridiculous.
and all those signs and all those things were on her as well, kind of deal.
Yeah, but we're talking about awards. And I this is kind of my curmudgeon-y bit. It's kind of like the, hey, you kids, get off my, lawn
Yeah.
type of thing. But The Mummy is one of those type of movies where people describe it as, oh, I understand you saw The Mummy. And so people invariably describe a movie like that as, well, it's not going to win any Academy Awards, but it was a fun movie. I hate that. Can I just say that I hate people describing movies of that type? Well, it's not going to win any Academy Award. Well, okay, usually what you mean is, yeah, it's going to win some Academy Awards. Clearly it did. It won sound. What they usually mean is it doesn't win any of the
Right.
top 4, the
Yeah.
Best Picture,
As
Best Actor,
though
Best
genre
Actress.
films aren't
Exactly.
worth anything.
Exactly. But so by saying that, well, it's not going to win any, you're saying nothing.
This very
Yeah.
small group of elite people won't like it. So
Right. And it's not like Stephen Summers or Brendan Fraser were kind of sitting in their hotel rooms and, in February of 2000 saying, oh my gosh, I didn't get Best Actor?
Right.
American Beauty? What the hell? No. They're not in it to win. It's like going
Right.
to a restaurant and saying that, oh, yeah, well, I understand you went to this restaurant. And it's
Well, it
like,
only has 2 Michelin stars.
yeah. Well, yeah, but it's like you're saying that, I had the chicken parmesan. Well, how was the chicken parmesan? Well, it was no filet mignon. And it's like,
Right.
well,
That's not what I ordered.
That's not what you ordered. It's like,
Yeah.
by saying that, well, it's not going to win any awards. It's like, it's not, they're not in that game. And so by describing a movie, that way, you're stalling.
Yeah, you don't want to put in the effort to talk about it in any
Right.
meaningful way.
But again, my solution is because, again, just, complaining without offering a solution is just whining. So I don't want to whine. So my solution, just briefly, is
To talk about it?
to talk about it, but just to discover, just kind of ascertain what the movie's job is. But with the advertising, it's like we know what the job of The Mummy was to, just have a fun ride
Yeah.
for summer, have kind of light
Yeah.
entertainment, a little bit of, a lot of action, a little bit of horror, that type of thing. So you address that bit or address that bit in any movie. And just kind of avoid the whole, well, it's not going to win any awards. Well, screw you. Don't say that. Just
It's only thing that you people watch is just movies that have won awards, because then that's kind of boring.
it is boring.
Yeah.
Because like
They're always the same. They're the same
Well,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
People learning and growing and finding their common humanity. I hate that crap.
I think that phrase is just a shorthand of saying like, it's not a great movie, but it was fun. But
Yeah.
the
Okay,
important
then,
sentence
but
is
people should
the
just say
second
that.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Just cut out that first half.
Just
what
cut-
you
just
mean
cut out
is
that first bit.
it was
It's-
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, just say it was fun. It's like you could just leave awards out
Right,
of
like
it.
I
Just
can
say,
love bad
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah. I love lots of terrible things.
Yeah, me too.
I'm wearing a Gintama shirt, so
I feel like I've said that a lot in the past couple of years lately of just like, how was this movie? Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
That's the most I could say about it.
I had fun watching it is usually
Yeah.
what I say.
Yeah.
Or you could
Like,
describe it was supposed to be fun, but it wasn't because,
Right.
Yeah.
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 Then you have other problems.
well, for me, it's like Jurassic World, the
Yeah.
second one that came out.
Not good.
not good. But I had a lot of fun laughing as stuff was happening.
Oh man,
Sure,
remember that
sure.
raptor crying?
Yeah.
I never. Yeah.
Remember that Brachiosaurus that ran to the edge of the dock?
Yeah. Yep.
I never saw it.
It's fine.
It was fun.
If you just want to like laugh at a movie,
Okay.
that's a movie I would suggest.
Okay. All right.
I think one of my favorite parts of that movie was there was this one, the kid in their entourage. I don't know. I can't remember his role. He may have been like a researcher or something. He kept getting stuck in these situations where he would get with a new group of people, and he'd be like, "Well, I guess I'm a scientist now.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna like follow
Roll
all
with
these
it.
people. I'm with mercenaries. So these are my new friends now, I guess." And he just like kept on appearing. And it was like a very British humor kind of thing,
Yes,
where at
it
the end of the
was.
movie, there was a big gap between his last scene, and they were like, the main characters went over to this other group. I think it might have been like the villains or something, and he was just in the background wearing like a lab coat or something. I was like, sure, he's here. They had a lot of fun making that movie, I bet. But that's how I would describe The Mummy, is fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say it's a bad movie.
No, it's not.
It's not a bad movie.
But it's not meant to be a great movie. It's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's meant to make money, which it did, clearly.
Yes.
And meant to start a franchise, which it also did.
Right.
If they
Well, two
It
franchises.
was meant to reflect old-timey movies, which I think it did very effectively.
if they had made a toy that opened up like that key, I would
Totally.
have bought the crap out of that.
Speaking of Anastasia, I had one of those little music boxes with the locket that you pop in there.
Yes.
Ugh.
Gosh, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So they did a good setup for even merchandising.
I mean, there is a market for that. They have in the toy aisle, there's always like journals or like little lock boxes. They
Yeah.
have secret keys. Just make one in the shape of that star.
Oh my god.
Plenty of swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, make one with where an
Camels.
Ankh is a key or something.
Yes.
It's like the Book of the Dead. Oh, it's my diary. Oh,
yeah, that would've been cool, too. That's
Get that
nice.
for your 10-year-old.
Yes.
My first Book of the Dead.
My first Book of the Dead. My first Necronomicon.
Benny finally dies.
Poor Benny.
No, it's fine.
He's trying to get rich.
I know. He tried to get rich. And I was like, hooray, Benny is dead. You got what you got what
You're
you
gonna get yours, Benny.
Exactly.
Like I've never heard that before.
Oh, he totally got it.
Also, I did have another thing. Also, fuck you, Jonathan, for dropping the book. So there you go.
He dropped the
right.
book?
He dropped the
Well,
book.
he dropped the book so there could be a sequel.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I always want all the gold. Every time I see just these giant rooms of fantastical
I
amounts
know,
of
right?
treasure, I'm like, why can't I be in that room
Yeah, I
and
was like-
touching this stuff?
Why didn't you pick up at least one coin when you were in amongst
Yeah.
all that shit?
Yeah, that's
But
right.
But
but
weak.
Oh, wait. Even
Oh, right.
before that, though, they're like, oh, darn, we don't have anything. And Evie and Rick are there. I'm like, don't worry. I was like,
Benny loaded up that camel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess we go home empty-handed, except for I already have a handful of that pussy.
Josh! Joshua!
The real
God.
Well,
treasure
they do
was
have a kid in
love.
the sequel.
Yeah. The real treasure was love, but also Benny.
And then there's
But also gold.
Camel's got gold, but I love so much that they're like, riding their camel off, and
Just
then that
Horribly animated
star sparkle
Yeah.
gleam.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, I loved it so much.
I know, it's just like the perfect level of so bad.
I would have appreciated an audible ting.
Yes.
Oh,
Was
that
there
would've been
not?
awesome.
I don't think.
I don't-
I would
know.
not be
I don't
surprised if there
remember.
was.
I don't remember.
I loved it. Gosh, right into the sunset. Successful careers as adventurers.
Mm-hmm.
And the hot magi is still alive at the end, so
That's right.
Yep.
Hey, we
That's
fucked
true.
up everything, but
Although
we'll
they
finally
were
respect
supposed
you.
to kill him off.
yeah.
Yeah, but they decided, no, he's too good of a character.
Yeah.
Oh,
We might do a sequel, so we'll keep him around.
yeah.
Because he stayed behind to fight, right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
He fought some zombies,
He was
but
going
then,
to sacrifice himself.
That's
Yep.
right.
but then he
Ours-
shows up at the end. Scares
ours-
Jonathan. Jonathan goes, bah! And,
Yeah,
Right.
because he has his hand wrapped up in like a white gauze, and so you're like, oh, it's going to be a mummy.
Is here's my question: is a mummy technically a different class of monster than a zombie?
Well, if you look at the Monsters Manual of any D&D book,
Yeah, there's one on the shelf there.
yes, we got 3.5 up here.
Okay, I'm gonna exclude D&D in this conversation.
Okay.
But as terms of lore for movies and stuff.
There's
Yeah, they're
a
different type of characters.
podcast I
Okay.
listened
Yeah.
to that for several weeks had a running segment about what is a goblin? Just all kinds of very creative definitions,
Nice.
It's kind of like a gremlin.
I guess.
But yeah. I just wanted to make sure there's a distinction in like movie creatures that a
I-
mummy is different than a zombie.
I think,
Yes.
speaking as an anthropologist, I think it's a culture-bound syndrome version of a zombie.
Gotcha.
Or is it closer to being a lich?
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy. Now.
No, your soul is not being held in something, right?
Wasn't his?
That's what I think the canopic jars are.
Well, the jars actually held the hot woman's soul, right? It didn't hold his soul.
I mean, everybody gets their own, like...
I don't know.
5 jars worth of organs.
So he wasn't mummified.
That's right.
Wow, I
He was
said that
still
weird.
juicy. Yeah. Mummified.
Right.
Mummified.
A lich can come back to, quotes, life, even if their body's destroyed, if their phylactery is still intact.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's the same
That's
for
a
a mummy.
good point. They did throw him in while he was alive and wiggling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They didn't do any of the
So then what the
skewering.
hell was in those jars?
I think
that he
it was.
so mad
I think
about?
it
Yeah, I think it
was.
was
the
woman.
hers?
I think it was
Yeah.
Her
hers.
stuff. Yeah, her
Huh,
organs.
okay.
But didn't they take some of his stuff? His eyes,
That's
his
what
tongue?
I thought. I mean, well,
Not-
they did cut out his tongue before they
Right.
wrapped him up, for sure.
But not how at least the shot
So you-
showed it. It just showed him like, here's your body, here's all the scarabs, goodbye.
Huh. Also, scarabs. I just want to talk about this right now. As a child watching this, I thought scarabs did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
They
Say.
burrowed into the
Yep.
skin.
I was like, these are real.
Yeah.
They exist in the world. Why are we not worried about this
This
more?
is definitely a big
Why are we
nope.
killing all the scarabs?
Yeah. This is a public health issue.
Yeah, this is way more serious than an undead creature coming back to life. We've got flesh eating, like the kind that just like roll over you, and then
Yeah.
you become a skeleton, like
right.
land piranhas.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely a piranha moment. That piranha movie where,
Yeah.
like, if you just dip any kind of foot in the water, immediately
You have
like,
a skeleton foot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought too about
Well, that's what
piranhas.
happens toward the end of the movie is there's it's in the middle, I guess. One of the workers in the temple or whatever, he gets ate up by a bunch of scarabs like within a second.
Second!
Yeah.
Whereas like apparently Imhotep was alive long enough to make scratches in the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Con-
what happened there? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they're the resurrected scarabs and have now god powers. Scarab god
I
powers.
Yes.
see. That
Could be
makes
true.
sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
You've convinced me.
Okay, good. I'm
They're
glad.
ultra scarabs.
Ultra.
Ultra.
just really hungry. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Sounds like we're ready to talk about what's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been holding back
Okay.
because I didn't want to bring it up.
Go first.
Okay, so for me, the thing is that the sandstorm mummy face when he goes and he opens his mouth. Because I don't know about you guys, but every time I walked into a store that has one of those like pin, like put your impression,
yeah.
you always leave your face doing that. And every time I went to a store, which is probably unhygienic, because
Yeah.
like every store,
That
every
was definitely
place,
not me. I was definitely a hands, but
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
put my face on it and do the mouth thing.
I didn't want to feel the pins on my eyes.
It's fine. Just close your eyes.
Close
it's
your
fine.
eyes. Yep.
It's fine. So that for me is like that has stuck with me for years and years and years.
it's
and
also
years.
often on like the cover art too.
Yes.
yes.
In the background.
That's my thing.
I think my thing has to be the scarab going down the arm. Because, like, I don't remember much about the movie when I originally saw it, but the scarab was the only thing that I kept with me all these years, was just that image of the CG bump going
Yeah.
up the guy's arm.
Body horror.
Yeah.
Sucking into his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, very Cronenberg-esque.
And that definitely stuck with me. It was similar to Temple of Doom and the Heart thing. Like, if I remember one thing about the movie, it was that.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, the thing is, well, again, it's not really anything horrific. It's just Rachel Weisz when we first see her at the library and she knocks down the
All of the
selling
all
of
of the
bookshelves.
books. Because the reason is, I have dreams like that. I'm just trying. Nothing about books or anything, but I'm just driving in my car and it's like, oh, I can't stop in time, and I hit
yeah.
that car, and then that car hits another car, and like 30 times 30, and
Yeah.
and then other things like I'm still at the radio station, and then it's like, I'm trying to play something and that thing's not working, and then the tape's flying all over the place, and then 30 different things are spewing tape.
I love-
So that's kind of
I love that it went monster, body horror, anxiety about knocking things over.
I'm a very anxious person.
Which is fine. I like that.
Definitely a CG as well.
Which one?
All of it.
Lots of it. So the thing is, it's 1999.
No. Think for you, like the thing that when you think about this movie, right? Is that how you're thinking?
Okay, sorry, never mind.
What's when you hear the title "The Mummy"? What is the image in your head that you're getting?
Scorpion King.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh,
Really?
Yes.
A bit meta, but
When you think of the Mummy, you immediately think of the
because
Rock?
I've watched so many of them. And the second thing, very very close by, would be the mouth sand face thing.
yeah. I think the thing that I always remember, other than I was a young girl that liked Brendan Fraser, was I always remembered Benny.
He was such a good that kind of
Yes.
character.
He absolutely nailed everything, and he stole every scene he was in,
Yes.
no matter how mumbly he was. But I think I didn't remember it, but I think my favorite moment was Rick and Jonathan and the Magi are running through the temple, and they stop, and Rick lights a match on the guy's cheek. That is so funny to me. That kills me every time.
I don't remember.
It's like this very serious man.
Huh, I don't remember that.
Oh, dude, it's so funny.
yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm watching the men a lot more closely than a lot of you. What's the most 90s thing about this movie?
Well, so because it's not set in the 90s, there's not really like a lot of 90 things, but for that genre or for the time period it's made, I don't know, it's like thinking.
The most 90s thing is Brendan Fraser.
I mean,
Being a leading
kind
man.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the special effects, just
Yeah.
because.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're well done, but
I think it was also filmed on film,
yeah, it was filmed on
Oh,
film.
nice.
which is pretty 90s.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me not watching a lot of movies that are targeted for children, but a lot of it felt very silly in a way that I don't. At least the movies I've watched more recently.
Like a little juvenile.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think there might have been some like cartoon sound effects in some parts,
Right.
like a slip sound. I feel like I've heard something like that.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It just felt very lighthearted and silly in a way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't remember seeing movies like that. Even like Moana, it can be child-esque, right? That's like the most recent child movie I watched is Moana. And I'm like, it still isn't that kind of silly.
It's slapstick. There's a
Yeah.
lot of slapstick to the violence.
Right.
People
Yeah.
doing like flips and yeah, it was.
I was very impressed with the fight choreography, like especially there's the scene at the end where Rick is fighting off all the mummies on his own. There was nothing in that scene with him. He was fighting the air, and they
Yeah.
animated everything. Like something like he just lands everything with the right amount of force that it looks
right.
like he's hitting stuff. Like he's just that good about controlling himself. And there are a lot of shots. I think part of why I like it so much is there are a lot of wide shots that people move in and out of frame, and like there aren't a whole lot of cuts in some places. Like it's a lot of you just see the whole thing from afar, and I really like that about. I mean, it makes sense with a movie like this where you're trying to get the scenery and you're trying to get all the stuff in the background and details about where you are. But I really like that. That's anytime there's a wide shot, and I love when there's no cuts in anything. Love it.
Yeah, that goes good with being an adventure movie. You want to see the scenery, you want
Right.
to see characters, you want
It's-
that mystery.
Yeah, and then in another sense, it's not so much about the details, so you don't need to get up close. I
Yeah.
think there's like one really close shot of the guy with the glasses before his eyeballs get taken.
Well, if we're still talking about 90s, dual wielding.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a very 90s thing.
Sarah hated Rachel Weisz's hair.
The curl.
That's from 1923, wasn't she?
I know, that's definitely what it looks like. She definitely looks like a movie star from the 20s.
I'm still thinking. I'm trying to think for me what like stands out as like 1990s. I know it's just like the lack of female characters too.
It's probably a big
like
one.
I feel now you're getting obviously more and more. There's more than just one, and the other one isn't an undead zombie trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So I think now, I mean that time period, 90s, especially in an adventure action movie, one female character. But it was kind of nice that she was like
Yeah.
she was integral.
That's a really
Right,
good
she
point.
was the main character.
Yeah.
That's a really good point because I don't see a lot of movies nowadays be as enthusiastic about throwing like romantic intentions on a person. It's like she is the female character, so everyone around her like has a crush on her, is trying to kiss her. It's just like,
or looking down on her.
Yeah.
yeah, it's so shoehorned. Like all these things that are put on
It's
her
all tropes.
character. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't see that as much these days.
Which is good, and also, but it's nice too. Like we said, like I think this is that time period. We've talked a lot about how a lot of stuff is coming more in front in 1999. Like you're seeing more homosexual relationships and stuff like that. I think this was a good movie where, here she is as the main character, and she's trying to defy all these tropes that are being pushed on her through the other characters. So I think that's interesting. Like here we are seeing in the 90s, 1999, this movie specifically, you only have one female character, but it's trying to change that. And now today you see an action hero. I mean, Brandon played Uncharted where the two main characters were female. And there was, it was their whole...
It definitely passed the Bechdel test. Like they had a lot of really good relationship moments, like with their friendship and
when there was a tension, it wasn't about a man.
Yeah.
It was like, you're doing this for the wrong reasons, and this is why I'm doing this kind of tension, and not because we're fighting over the attention of a man.
Yeah, so Uncharted Lost Legacy, highly recommended.
This has been The Mummy.
I think my favorite note that I have written down, I'm not saying that Mummy's a bad movie, but I have this in my note that I don't think I've rewatched movies that I love more than Amber has rewatched bad movies.
What are you saying?
Like all the times you watch Bicentennial Man.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Just like every time we talk about bad movies, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. I watched it like 30 times as a kid.
I lived out in the country. I had a TV and DVDs. That's all I had.
And I'm like, one of my favorite movies is Jurassic Park, and I've seen it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
You got time as a kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid amount, especially when you're isolated.
What doesn't hold up? Or does this movie hold up?
I think it holds up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I would probably watch this again in another 5 years, 10 years.
I won't. But I think it does hold up. It's really just the CG that is.
Yeah,
over time.
That could take a little bit of an update, but
It's the CG, and it's the what we were talking about with Evie's character, like all these things thrust on her. Like those are the two things that are the most 90s and the least likely to hold up over time.
But you know, I was surprised. Like the dust effects, I thought were always pretty good. Like the fight scene at the end, the way that it flew off of the mummies when he hit them. Thought that stuff actually looked pretty good still. But yeah, the water could use a redo, and probably the face.
Well, ironically enough, this holds up better than the most recent Mummy, which again is horrible. In case you didn't catch, talking about like earlier in the broadcast. But yeah, it's like even the special effects. It's like state of the art for 2016, and still no story to speak of. Nothing but pain that I remember. But yeah, this Mummy was pleasant.
I think there's enough of it that's practical that the CG is forgivable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep,
Whereas everything in new movies is CG.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Very little that's practical anymore.
I think in Annihilation they had some practical effects with a bear. That was pretty cool.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that.
Are we going to feel the same way about this one in another 20 years? Is it still going to basically hold up?
It might be 20 years before I see it again. Just
I think in 20 years it will feel like it was from 1932.
Because we're just so far removed from everything. Yeah. I probably won't watch it again in 20.
It'll definitely be a
2039,
nostalgic thing.
yeah.
It'll be like, this is a movie that I had fun with when I was younger.
This is one of my favorite movies still. I don't know if it's something about the comedy in it that really keeps me. I don't know. Plus, I was talking about this with Sarah. The main character is a girl. She's brainy. She does anthropology and linguistics.
Yeah.
And those are my majors.
Yeah.
And she saves the day with academics.
Yep.
I think that's a really fun thing about...
Yeah, that's the thing. I never saw that in women, especially at that time.
Yeah.
That's the really fun thing about adventure movies, because you have this convergence of so many different things. Like with Indiana Jones, he was a professor. Like he had that aspect of it. You got your action. You got your your weird mythical.
You have to have some special knowledge.
Yeah. Like there's so much that is just wound up in the adventure genre that is super cool.
Yeah, that's neat. I've never thought about that.
Because I think of like National Treasure, similar kind of thing. You got you got people trying to solve a mystery, and they have this very niche knowledge of like American history and stuff like that. Although Nicolas Cage's knowledge was pretty broad, it was more for the audience of like, hey guys, if you didn't know, George Washington was our first president.
Okay, any last thoughts?
Thinking. I don't think so.
Yeah, I went through all the notes.
Coming to you soon, The Mummy 1999 one-shot module by Amber.
Okay.
Please.
I did the National Treasure. Now you can do the
Mummy. Yes. I'll do it in Blades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the flashback would work pretty well.
Yep.
It would. So that's my thoughts for that. I was really, like, it's a really good, good, inspiring. If you're into making, dungeons and stuff, and it's very good.
Everything down to like the color palettes of all the shots. Like sometimes there are shots that are just yellow, and some are just orange, and it's all pretty. It's a pretty film. Plus the actors.
Plus that death chariot that came at the end. Am I
Yeah.
right, guys?
Shit, I forgot about that.
Death chariot.
Hell yeah.
Drag you to.
And he just stands there shaking his fist.
Exactly.
Hope that's how I go. Laying in bed in the death chariot goes
Sure,
through.
that's
I've
how.
been trying to find a church that preaches the, death chariot so far.
I'm sure there will be all
success.
kinds of weird religions popping up in the next couple decades with,
Yeah, right
the
before
apocalypse coming.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
That was
yeah,
fun.
it's fun.
It was fun.
I got to do this episode twice.
Sorry, I just had to get that
No.
out. It made me angry when I read that description.
That's the thing. I always appreciate being angered by Billy Mitchell.